Cancer, my dear, what if I told you the blessing you've been quietly building toward has already been released? That the currents are shifting in your favor and abundance is now flowing into your life. Not as a symbol, not in the distance, but tangibly right now between October 1st and 5th. You didn't find this video by chance. Something deep and intuitive inside you brought you here. And what we're about to uncover isn't just a horoscope or a passing message. It's confirmation, a soul-level signal that you're standing at the edge of something rare, something deeply felt and divine. Because right now, your name is humming through a sacred register, and the vault is opening, ready to pour into your hands what you've long earned through your nurturing presence, your emotional resilience, your quiet wisdom, comfort, recognition, peace, and the kind of wealth that frees the soul from old binds. The blessing has already been authorized. The real question is, are you prepared to receive it? Today's message marks a powerful convergence between your celestial path, divine timing, and a once-in-a-lifetime doorway of abundance opening wide for Cancer from October 1st to 5th. Your ruler, the moon, is aligning in a profoundly harmonious way with Jupiter and Uranus, a trio of celestial energies that, when aligned like this, don't just suggest good fortune, they ignite it. And this alignment creates a real and energetic shift for Cancer, one that speaks of harvests from past labors, rewards for inner growth, unexpected income surges, or even blessings you hadn't imagined. A home sanctuary or emotional support that seems to appear right on cue. But here's the deeper truth beneath the stars. You've been tending quietly for years, with gentle hands, with prayers whispered through fatigue, with choices made from intuition that no one else saw. Now the tide responds. Now the hidden depths yield their treasures. So take a breath and ask yourself honestly, could this be why you felt that subtle pressure to change something in your world? Could this be the reason old doors you gave up on are now shifting on their hinges? In this video, we'll trace the energetic blueprints around you. We'll explore the symbols, the planetary movements, and what they reveal about your resources, your sense of emotional security, and the deeper mission you're here to fulfill. But more than that, we're going to affirm what you've been sensing all along. That gentle nudge to prepare wasn't a daydream, it's a summons. So Cancer, if anything in your body already knows this is for you, drop the sacred number 777 inches the comments right now. This isn't just numerology. It's how we mark the moment together. It's how you let the universe know you're awake, present, and willing to receive what's rightfully yours. And while we're in this space, let me thank you from the depth of my being for your presence here. Every comment, every time you subscribe or share this message, you help carry it further. You breathe life into work that's meant to move us, not just inform us. So stay with me. Don't go anywhere. Because what's unfolding for you about your wealth, your influence, your role is beyond ordinary. Now, my sensitive Cancer, what current of energy drew you to this message today? Let's open it together. There's something rare moving through the sky right now for Cancer. You are right at its center. This isn't a metaphor. This is exact. Between October 1st and 5th, your ruler, the moon, enters into perfect harmony with Jupiter and Uranus. And when that happens, cosmic doors don't just creak open, they swing wide. A vault long locked is yielding to your name. And the universe, in all its unspoken wisdom, is allowing the release of everything you've spiritually accumulated: resources, relief, expansion, and breakthrough. This configuration isn't common, it's catalytic. The moon softens what it touches, Jupiter expands, Uranus liberates. Together, they don't whisper. They shift the emotional landscape beneath your feet. So what does this really mean for you? It means you are stepping into a season I'd call the golden hour of your soul's personal economy. This is the yes you've been waiting for. A seal on the invisible work you've been doing for years, the grace you extended, the self-care you practiced, the nights you stayed instead of fleeing, the times you chose to tend the garden of your soul instead of walk away. All of it has been witnessed, and the laws of spirit don't forget what's been sown with care. You're not being handed this moment. You built it, layer by layer. In the unlit hours no one celebrated, And when the soul has proven trustworthy in the quiet, not just with effort but with intention, the currents of blessing respond. It's the kind of principle that says to the one who tended faithfully, even in scarcity, more will be entrusted. What you're stepping into now is a deepened capacity, not just financial flow, but the ability to carry what is meaningful and enduring. This isn't about luxury for the sake of indulgence, though comfort may find you. This is about matching you with the tools, the spaces, the structure that fits your vision. Perhaps a true sanctuary, a place of deep belonging. And if you've ever asked why it took so long for your moment to arrive, here's why. It was never just about timing outside of you. It was also preparation within you. Imagine a gentle rain falling too soon on dry, unturned soil. It floods, not nourishes. So yes, the universe waited not for your perfection, but for your receptivity. Not for your certainty, but for your emotional clarity. And now the soil of your inner life is ready. The seeds are in place. The emotional landscape has been softened, and the sky is darkening with rain. This kind of energetic alignment isn't just poetic, it's powerful. You're not receiving by chance. You're receiving because you've become the match for what you once dreamed of. From that place, something subtle yet powerful begins to shift in how you move through the world. You approach your finances differently, not from scarcity or fear, but from a deeper well of knowing. You begin to say yes and no from a place rooted in your gut, in your heart, in a truth that feels unshakable. You stop reaching and start receiving, not out of passivity, but out of quiet certainty, with calm awareness and steady trust in what is already flowing your way. And Cancer, this moment isn't asking for your perfection, it's asking for your permission. You don't need to hustle to prove yourself worthy of beautiful things. You only need to give yourself the quiet, compassionate approval to open to them. What's moving through these October 1 Saint 5th energies isn't a transaction, it's a transformation. So receive it without gripping, without guilt, without spiraling into over-analysis. This is not about luck. It's a realignment, a moment where your frequency becomes a match for the very magnitude of the doors now creaking open just for you. If you've been sensing a rumble beneath the surface, a low and growing hum that says something's about to change, trust it. You're not imagining it. You're being gently positioned, like roots turning toward water underground. And now that the way is clear, all that's asked of you is to step forward with faith, with presence, and with the soft certainty that this arrival was always meant for you. This is your season, and what you're stepping into is only just beginning to unfold. There's a shift, quiet but undeniable, moving through your energetic field, Cancer. And if you've got the kind of sensitivity that most water signs carry like a hidden compass, you've likely already felt it. The way money, worth, and abundance feel in your heart, it's not the same anymore. That's not your imagination. That's frequency adjusting. You're not just walking toward prosperity. Prosperity is bending its path to meet you like rainfall that suddenly shifts direction to nourish your land. It's not because you're pushing harder, it's because something in you has changed. You've become the match, the vessel. Where effort once felt like the only way through, things now arrive with a kind of grace that almost startles you. This is the quiet power of resonance. The moment when your energy becomes more fluent than your effort. When who you are speaks louder than what you do. And Cancer, you're starting to speak a new energetic language altogether. One that no longer whispers "I hope" but declares "I allow." One that no longer clings to "I'm trying" but opens into "I receive." That inner shift may seem small, but it's the difference between rowing against the current and becoming the river itself. Think about it. For so long you were told that worth comes from doing more, from effort, from proving, from pushing until you arrive. But energy doesn't move that way. The law of resonance doesn't reward strain. It responds to clarity. It listens to the vibration underneath the doing. And lately your energy has been refining itself, clearing out the old static of fear, doubt, guilt, and lack. And what's emerging in its place is a magnetism that calls in more than just financial ease. You're becoming a point of attraction for aligned opportunities, soul-rooted connections, unexpected breakthroughs, the kind that don't knock but arrive and recognize you. This kind of evolution isn't loud. It doesn't shout. It happens in small pivots, like choosing patience when anxiety knocks or breathing, instead of bracing or saying yes to expansion when protection feels safer. They don't always look heroic from the outside, but spiritually they are seismic and the universe takes note. Just like the ocean doesn't need to shout for the tide, it simply needs to be ready. Abundance always finds the ground that's soft enough to receive it. Sometimes we brush this season off as luck, coincidence, or timing, but that's not what this is. This is the result of your inner work, the letting go, the releasing, the forgiving, the moments when you chose stillness instead of noise. And now, as your frequency rises, the outer world is finally catching up to meet it. If you want to deepen this shift, try this simple practice. Write down 3 things that your heart and soul feel ready to receive. Not just things you want, but things you truly resonate with. What feels like your next layer of truth? Maybe it's financial stability. Maybe it's a space to call your own. Maybe it's a peace that can hold you even when life doesn't go quiet. Then place those intentions somewhere meaningful. Maybe on a sunlit corner of a shelf. Maybe inside a bottle of water you sip from daily. Maybe beside something that feels sacred to you. Let them rest there for 3 days. Let them breathe with you. Let them be. This isn't superstition. It's focus. It's a way of reminding yourself that you're not begging for your desires. You're making space for them to come home. And as you do, don't be surprised if new clarity begins to rise. You might feel it in your purpose, in what you value in the old names or roles that no longer fit. Because energetic upgrades don't just change what flows into your life, they shift how you see yourself inside that life. Who you were is shedding like an old layer of skin, and what's rising now is truer, deeper, and more you than ever before. Let it happen. Let it be quiet. Growth doesn't always come with a spotlight, but it's always sacred. Even when no one notices, even when no one claps, your energy is ringing clear. And everything meant for you is already on its way. Stay open, stay rooted in your truth, stay available to the unfolding. You were never meant to chase what's yours. You were meant to welcome it with grace. There are moments in life that arrive without fanfare, no signals, no thunderous signs from the sky. Instead, they show up as quiet wonders tucked inside ordinary days. A stranger offers you help when you didn't ask. A connection you thought was long gone finds its way back to you. An opportunity you never chased falls softly into your hands like a feather you didn't know was floating above you. These moments aren't coincidence. They're not chance. They're signs of a divine rhythm moving in your favor. Proof that life has remembered the seeds you once planted and is now delivering their bloom whether or not you were still watching for them. For Cancer, this energy moves with particular clarity. Your sign carries the essence of deep emotional value. What is earned through nurturing, through intuition, through loyalty to what feels right, even when no one else sees it. You understand what it means to give without applause, to steady others without needing credit, to create beauty and sanctuary in silence. That energy doesn't vanish. It weaves itself into the fabric of the future. It compounds. And one day it returns, though rarely through the channels you expect. It might arrive as a gift that feels strangely timed, a job offer that finds you instead of the other way around, or a message from someone who says, "I don't know why, but I feel called to help you." When these things begin to unfold, don't question them. Don't hold them at arm's length. They're not detours. They are the way. Receiving them with open hands and quiet gratitude is just as sacred as all the giving that brought them into motion. You're not taking from anyone else's share of good. You're receiving the return on your own quiet investments, the kind made in integrity, not for recognition. And right now, this isn't about pushing further or doing more. It's about trusting that what you've done was already enough. Energetically, this is what the High Priestess in the Tarot whispers to us. She doesn't need to chase what's hers. She draws it in. She doesn't plead, she opens. Her wisdom isn't a surprise. It's the fruit of consistent inner tending of seasons spent nurturing what others couldn't even see growing in the depths. She doesn't cling to control. She rests in alignment. And in that, she reminds you that everything you've cultivated in your self-worth, your values, your intuitive way of moving through the world will eventually bloom. Not always where you planted, but always where you're meant to gather. And when the wheel of fortune begins to turn, as it is now for you, it can feel like sudden movement. But don't confuse speed with chaos. Yes, things may be shifting quickly. Yes, you might feel caught mid-step, but this wheel doesn't spin on whim. It turns in rhythm with deeper patterns, timelines of cause and effect that stretch far beyond the visible. And Cancer, you've been building that momentum in silence far longer than you realize. Now is the moment to pause and reflect. Have you ever been given something right when you thought all doors were closed, a gift, a gesture, a yes you didn't even know how to ask for? If so, share it in the comments below. Not just as a memory, but as a declaration, a message to the universe. I remember the ways you moved before, and I'm ready to witness it again. This part of your journey isn't about proving anything. That part is done. What's next is about allowing and being brave enough to say yes when the goodness arrives. The current is already moving. The gates have opened, and all the energy you once poured into others, often without thanks, is now circling back to meet you in fuller form. What's happening here isn't just about receiving, it's about awakening. Cancer, your energy is tapping into what some call the billionaire frequency. But don't let that phrase narrow your view. This isn't only about numbers in a bank account. It's about stepping into a flow where your inner value becomes amplified, where the universe begins reflecting your worth across all planes. Yes, in finances, but also in your voice, your presence, your ability to create sanctuary and feel peace. You may start noticing that money no longer comes from just one direction. New channels begin to open. One through a talent you've always had, another through an old connection that suddenly reappears, and perhaps one more through the quiet ways you've always been of service. Ways that now carry unexpected return. This is what alignment feels like when expansion stops being something you chase and starts becoming something that feels natural to allow. Your ruler, the moon, teaches you that true prosperity isn't about how much you accumulate. It's about how deeply you live in alignment with your emotional truth and values. When you do that, wealth stops being a struggle. It becomes a reflection. Not something you hunt down, but something that mirrors you. And in moments like this, one of the most grounded practices you can begin is simple. Open a small savings account. Not for bills, not for survival. Open one for your soul's purpose and deposit into its sacred number, 777-888-1111. Not out of superstition, but with clear intention. That account becomes more than money. It becomes a symbol, a promise to yourself that your mission is worth resourcing before the external success shows up. But abundance isn't just financial, it's energetic. And your body, your physical self, is the vessel that holds everything you're calling in. So protect it. Stress is one of the quietest thieves of clarity and intuition. Create softness where you can. Sip calming teas at night. Take magnesium baths. Ground your nervous system through gentle touch, through breath, through creating a cozy home. And nourish yourself deeply, not as correction, but as care. Trace minerals like zinc or B12 aren't about fixing. They're about fueling the vessel that's about to carry more. Because when your body feels safe, your mind clears, and your financial instincts, your deep intuitive knowing, come alive. And in your relationships, especially in the realm of love, true abundance begins the moment you let your truth breathe. Say the tender thing you've been holding back. Offer the compliment that's been sitting unspoken. Reach toward repair, even if it's just one small gesture. Just like money, intimacy takes root in trust, and both flourish in environments where safety lies. When you feel secure in your connections, your nervous system softens, and with that, softening, your capacity to receive multiplies. This is why wealth can't be boxed into one corner of your life. Every part of your world is either nourishing or draining the ground where expansion grows. So let me ask you this. If $5 billion dropped into your life today, what's the first thing you do not for comfort but to make a meaningful impact? Don't rush to answer. Sit with it. Let it rise like warmth from the deep. Write it down. Let it move you. That vision isn't fantasy. It's guidance. A whisper from the part of you that's already prepared to step into something bigger. So as these new streams of income and influence begin to show up, remember this. The universe isn't testing you, it's trusting you. Trusting that your hands will carry what's given with care. Trusting that your heart will know how to honor the people, the purpose, and the prosperity all arriving at once. You don't need to prove your readiness. You only need to stay rooted enough to recognize the moment when it comes and answer it. And Cancer, I believe that moment is already here. Not every seed announces its presence above ground. And Cancer, more than most you understand this. You've planted dreams, intentions, prayers, and promises in the hidden depths of your soul that others couldn't read. There were times you looked around and wondered, did I ask too much? Did I reach too far? But now as your energy starts to rise like the tide, you realize you weren't asking for too much. You were simply ahead of the season. There's a kind of unshakable confidence that comes from knowing the direction of your soul. It doesn't wait for applause or understanding. It just continues slowly, surely, faithfully in its own rhythm. You're not here to be popular. You're here to be true. And when that kind of truth starts to grow from within, not as performance but as presence, something fundamental shifts. You stop shrinking to fit places that once felt safe. You begin to enter new rooms, not wondering if you belong, but knowing you were sent. Like the guardian who tends to a hidden spring, your timing hasn't been wrong, it's been deeply intuitive. People often fail to understand what they can't yet see. Dreams that haven't sprouted are easy to dismiss. Visionaries are easy to doubt, but seasons change, and those who plant with courage always harvest in time. The most powerful transformations you'll experience won't be loud. By the time others notice, the foundation beneath you will already be solid. The roots too deep to be shaken. Confidence isn't something you perform, it's something you reclaim. You remember who you are. You remember the moments that tried to undo you and didn't. You remember walking through emotional storms no one saw. And from that memory, a steadier kind of trust begins to form. Not trust in outcomes, but trust in your own endurance. And from that space of deeper knowing, your entire field begins to shift. Not because you're forcing anything, but because your alignment is speaking for you. A gentle way to root this shift is through journaling, not to fix, but to affirm. Try writing a truth like this: I no longer need to be seen to be chosen. I was already chosen before the world caught up. Let that line live with you. Let it hum quietly in your chest when old patterns tempt you to dim your light. Let it ground you when you feel the pull to make yourself smaller to fit into places you've outgrown. And if anyone's ever told you that your dreams were too far-fetched, too soft, too grand for this world, hear this. They weren't speaking to your dream. They were echoing their own limitations. Don't take their ceiling and build your home beneath it. Instead, let it be the reminder that you were always meant to rise beyond the walls they couldn't see past. And if you feel that rise awakening in you right now, I invite you to anchor it. Type in the comments, I am the Millionaire Soul Awakening. Not for ego, for clarity, for devotion to your deeper truth. Because confidence doesn't yell. It settles in like warmth in the bones. It's the gentle shift in how you stand when you're no longer pretending, just present. It's the stillness that says, I know who I am, even when no one else claps, because the door that was carved for you can't be closed by hands that weren't meant to open it. So keep moving, Cancer, keep tending, keep choosing your truth even when silence would be easier. And when the harvest starts to bloom around you, let it serve as quiet confirmation, not for anyone else, but for the version of you who once stood alone in a barren field daring to plant anyway. You weren't naive. You were early. Thank you for staying with me through this moment, Cancer. If you're still here, it's not just because you're curious. It's because something solid and unshakable in you recognizes this message. And maybe, just maybe, you're no longer waiting for something good to happen. You're ready to live as though it already is. You're not sitting in line for abundance. You're walking beside it now. You're not searching for opportunities. You're becoming the kind of person they are drawn to like gravity. You've spent years shaping your worth quietly through endurance, through emotional restraint, through a loyalty to peace, even when it cost you. But now the tide is turning, because life isn't asking you to prove anything anymore. It's asking you to receive what's already aligned, to live more fully in your truth, and to honor the richness that's already grown within. So pause and ask yourself, what would shift if I stopped asking for permission to live the life that's been calling me all along? What if I chose from a place of already being enough, not someday, but now what opens when I stop, apologizing for wanting more, and instead start planting the path toward it one intuitive step at a time? This message wasn't meant to impress you. It was here to activate what your body already knows, the part of you that's been whispering it's time. And Cancer, I believe with everything in me that time is here. If you've ever questioned whether you were dreaming too big, let this moment be your turning point. You are not too much. You are the exact amount of truth, compassion, beauty, and depth this world is aching for. You've carried more growth inside you than most will ever witness. But now it's time to let the outer world reflect what's already happened within. Financial expansion opportunities with soul love that feels like home, leadership rooted in integrity, not as fantasy, as your next natural step. And if something in you is stirring right now, that's not just emotion, that's memory. The remembrance of who you were before the world convinced you to shrink. So, tell me, Cancer, are you ready to walk into the life others only dare to imagine? Are you ready to welcome what was never denied, only delayed? If you feel it in your body that this message was meant for you, comment the number 777 below. That's how you claim it. That's how you say, yes, I'm here, I'm ready. And while you're still with me, I want to thank you truly. Every like you leave, every word you share, every time you subscribe, you're not just supporting this space. You're keeping the fire lit. You're helping this message reach the souls who need it, the ones who, like you, are ready to live. From clarity, from purpose, from deep inner alignment. So if this message resonated, let your like be your way of saying, I see myself here. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe so each week you receive what's been created just for your energy. And don't keep this to yourself. Share this with someone whose spirit you trust, someone standing at the edge of their own breakthrough. Because when wealth begins raining into your life like sunlight through an open roof, Cancer, you won't want to be the only one standing in it. Let's rise together.